2022 has been one of the busiest years for UAP activity all over the world. It seems there have been more incidents now than at any point in recent history. This is one issue that has no clear singular answer, and there won't be one. And it is being pushed and pulled in different directions for various interests, only complicating the matter further. For years, many have spoken about the U.S. government being in possession of foreign off-world materials, possibly even biological samples and reverse engineering programs. All of this sits at the heart of the Wilson-Davis memo, now part of the official UAP investigation being done by the U.S. Congress. Now, the memo discusses the alleged discovery of covert programs studying UAPs and potentially occupants in their possession. Now, where there is smoke, there is typically fire. Except in this case, the issue is trying to separate the real fires from the smoke screens that are meant to hide them. So, as a thought experiment, let's step back for a moment. A former Central Intelligence Agency officer, John Ramirez, who spent a lot of time in the Directorate of Science and Technology, has spoken publicly about one theory that humans might be the product of manipulation by an outside group, one who helped assist with the shift from primates into humans. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is interesting considering the speed at which humans developed, particularly the speed at which our brains grew in size, doesn't necessarily fit the standard Darwinian model of evolution. It seemed to have happened too fast compared to other primated hominid species that we know of. Now, could this be the divine intervention of creationism nearly all aspects of human history has spoken about when it comes to the origins of ourselves, the origins of humans? Indigenous populations the world over share common traditions of contact with other beings or those from the heavens or stars as part of their origin stories. And this was long before the influence of white Western Europeans. These traditions and tales precede the arrival of explorers and missionaries. Many of these stories and descriptions of objects and beings align with many of the sightings and reports we're hearing and seeing about today. These are not new ideas, just old ideas now being taken more seriously in the modern age, in the quest to fill the many knowledge gaps and missing pieces into this ongoing mystery. You know, it's also worth remembering what former CIA Director John Brennan said in recent years, that there could be other forms of life beyond our current understanding. But that doesn't necessarily mean alien life from a distant star. It could mean something like an interdimensional being or possibly an ultra-terrestrial. You know, in the past I've written about the idea of other civilizations that could exist on this planet that are older than ours, perhaps in the ocean or inside the planet itself. That's the idea behind an ultra-terrestrial. Now, they could also be on another plane that we don't visually perceive on the electromagnetic spectrum. And that may be why stories of UAPs and strange visitors have been a part of our collective history for thousands of years, improbable as it sounds. There is also some very strong logic behind it, and that's the point. There needs to be a good investigation, across the board, a global secular fact-finding mission to uncover so many of these mysteries and all the competing and complicating factors that makes it difficult to unravel the truth. Now, if there was a complex civilization that existed before ours, would we even know about it? It would be virtually impossible to tell because of plate tectonics, wiping clean the surface of the Earth as it goes. But one telltale sign to look for that our civilization will leave behind is the footprint of its industrialized existence, with an increased carbon-12, 13, and 14 footprint. But a big boost in carbon-12 is usually indicative of industrialized civilizations that are mining and farming and producing, thereby impacting the environment, climate, atmospheric compositions. It turns out that about 50 million years ago, there were two giant spikes in carbon-12 that have no real definitive explanation for what caused them. Now, it could absolutely be a meteor or volcanic activity, but nothing is really certain, including whether they were the product of an ancient industrialized civilization, which goes back to the ultra-terrestrial theory. All of these things are worth considering. We have now the science to look into it. We just need the discipline and the willingness to do it. If some UAPs are time travelers, or perhaps they come from our past, not our future, or at least they are the product of a civilization that may have left our planet millions of years ago and are now returning, or moving through an interdimensional portal. really anything is possible. Because, after all, we live in a time when cubes and triangles are seen flying through the sky. How religious pillars, ideas, dogma, and beliefs are forged and then transcend millennia is often rooted in a common ancestor. It doesn't mean any one group or theological belief is right or wrong. It just shows that they likely have more in common, and also roots that don't necessarily reflect or conflict with the existing beliefs some people have. What is clear to everyone taking the issue seriously is the need for a unified commitment to openness and transparency. The goal is to share hidden, lost, and forgotten knowledge that sits in archives and private collections and official vaults. If we don't come together to understand and shape our future with the knowledge of what is happening, we are at risk for many unknowns, including some with possibly alarming consequences, not the least of which is how society reacts that is not prepared. I'm Sean. If you enjoy the content, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. There's great new stuff coming all the time. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. Another great video is coming up next.